What is up? Happy New Year. Happy 2020. This is a bonus? I'm not sure if it's a bonus, but another episode of Difficult to Please. And in this episode, Erwin and I go through 10 things that influence our decade. Not like 10 things that we think influence like the whole culture, but 10 things we believe changed us. It's a pretty interesting episode. Surprisingly, Erwin and I have some common ones, which I'm actually pretty genuinely shocked about. Anyways, I want to give a special shout out to one of our friends, Omar. And I'm not going to say much, but this episode's for you, man. Rest in peace.
Hey, welcome to episode 24, the bonus episode of the Difficult to Please podcast.
Would it be a bonus, even though you said it's 24?
Or maybe we could say it's just the bonus episode, unnumbered. It's like the Kendrick Lamar mixtapes. He just did it untitled.
This is just a mixtape
It's basically just a mixtape.
episode. Okay.
Special episode back in San Diego for a quick week and headed back to Portland.
I actually see Erwin in front of me this time.
This is a real life in-person podcast recorded the Monday before Christmas. So this is different, but it's also the same.
Yeah, the only difference is we fucking scrambled to get a microphone the last 2 hours.
We had technical / logistical issues. I didn't pack a microphone.
And I thought you bought a USB mic.
Yeah, so so we're just recording like last minute. JV's homie came through and we have a 2-mic setup.
Yeah, kind of, yeah. I like it. Whatever. It works. All right, so what's the topic today? What's the bonus episode about?
This is the top 10 of 2009 to 2019, so top 10 of the decade.
Right, because everyone's doing like the...
Yeah, this is kind of our take, and we're able to talk about the stuff we talk about, movies, video games, nerd culture, pop culture, tech. So this is just kind of everything. And I guess there's like some personal moments here to talk about too that help us kind of like define our decade or things that stand out.
So instead of saying like, oh, this is the 10 moments that like made like the whole decade, this is like 10 moments or 10 things that like shaped our decade.
Yeah,
like, personally.
For sure. And it's like, so like our top 10 is going to have an album, maybe a music album, a movie, or just a moment,
whatever event, moment, something,
video game, whatever, about like what happened in the last 10.
Correct. So
let's just break it down from 10 to 1. Let's do it.
Oh, 10 to 1. I didn't even order mine, but okay.
Well, let's just think about it. Okay. My 10 is Overwatch by Blizzard.
Why?
Just because I play it a lot, and
oh shit, you actually play?
I still play, but I'm not competitive. But I think as a cultural marker is like that's besides Fortnite, that's one of the few video games that have like an organized esports league. There's people who are playing it. I mean, Blizzard makes these really addictive games for different parts of like the countries of the world. So it's like first person shooter with, I forgot the genre. It was like first person ability shooter or some shit like that. So it's like very like
heroes and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's not just like Call of Duty shoot. It's like, okay, strategize a little bit better. And
with the team, the character, the avatar is different.
There's a whole like synergy and kind of like there you have to play as a team or else you fail.
Are you getting Overwatch 2 by any chance?
Possibly.
Interesting.
I said I was not going to get Call of Duty, but I ended up getting Call of Duty, so.
Are you playing with the boys?
Yeah. Playing with the boys, maybe the boys.
I'll just randomly log on my PS4 and I'll see like, oh, Jordan Oliver playing Call of Duty. I wonder who else is on that thing. And I guess mine, my bottom 10 I'm going to start with New Orleans.
New Orleans.
for? I forgot.
Is it like
Was it someone's bachelor party?
no someone's birthday?
It was Drew's birthday.
No, it was mainly for Brandon.
It was
Brandon and Drew's birthday, but it was mainly for Brandon. Brandon wanted to go, and then Drew was like, "Yeah, let's go."
Yeah, because I remember I didn't end up hanging out with you guys as much. I was with like the older crowd in that one, the older Buddha crowd.
Yeah. So why New Orleans?
Because I think New Orleans was what actually propelled me into like the foodie scene. Like I was like okay with food, but I think it was after like that moment I started to appreciate like food culture more, and that like propelled me into eating like just trying out new foods, and that like launched it for me. Like that was the thing that made me log on Thrillist every day, looked at different websites for like new hot restaurants and stuff like that. Like I used to be really, really about that. Like I think because of New Orleans, I ended up going to Momofuku.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
that's
like,
really interesting.
Yeah, like when I went to New York the first time, this is pre New Orleans, like getting a Momofuku cookies was like kind of like a second. I was like, oh, it's good. It was never like my idea, like the plan. But now after New Orleans, Momofuku became like the destination.
Yeah, I mean, I agree that New Orleans is a very like, I don't say creative. It's a very like foods driven city. Like that's something you can experience, and that's totally like that cuisine is very specific to Louisiana to New Orleans. Yeah. So it's like there's not another place in the like US that has that kind of like the Cajun spice influence.
Yeah, that was nuts. Like that like just opened my flavor palette to like new shit.
Yeah, because you were not really eating spicy food.
I wasn't eating spicy foods at all. I was like, talk about mild sauce is spicy to me.
And then just like base level ramen, like that was like, you were getting spicy ramen.
Now I can eat like Satan's Kiss sauce from like for Ritos now or something. Yep.
Yeah. All right.
So that's it. Next one.
Number 9. We're knocking this shit out. I have Amazon Prime as my
attack because it's actually a good one.
Well, because it's like before, like Amazon, like I know I'm seeing it as on the macro level as well, just because without Amazon Prime and having that 2-day free shipping, that just kind of changed the game for everybody, right?
Correct.
It changed retail, and then it's just like on the impact on my personal level, like yeah, I'm doing a lot less. I mean, I'm still going to Target. I'm still going inside and kind of like doing my pickup of things, but there's like fewer things that I need to get from Target, or I've cut back on going to like Best Buy or like any electronics store because I'm like, oh, I just get it from fucking Amazon. Let me get my fucking iPhone cables from Amazon.
That's true, and like you don't really.
It's just small shit.
Yeah, and like I guess you wouldn't really have to, if you didn't really need it that urgently. I guess you would just do Amazon, because if you wanted to get it that urgent, you could just go there yourself.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Number 9.
Mine is the Black Panther soundtrack from
the soundtrack,
2018.
not the movie itself, just the soundtrack.
Yeah, I think that was like, because I'm trying to think like what last album, like
what movie soundtrack like affected you,
or just any sound, like any album, anything that like affected me, and like all of them are like pre 2009, like they're all 2008 or younger. Because it's like, oh shit, like even like 808s and Heartbreak was like 2008 or something
2008,
like that.
2009, yeah.
So I was like, barely. Yeah. So the last album that I actually listened to like back to front consistently was the Black Panther soundtrack. I thought it was like one of the best like albums I heard, because it was so creative.
Yeah, because Kendrick Lamar was that was basically a Kendrick Lamar mixtape that he just threw a bunch of like his homies on. Like, no, it was a good nuts. It was a very good soundtrack album. I think when you watch Black Panther, like when you start hearing those kind of beats and the actual music being played in the movie, you're like, yeah, you feel it.
It was sick. Yeah, no, definitely. And like All the Stars was like one of the best songs I've heard in all of 2018, for sure.
I think that song All the Stars with SZA, that kind of like, that I don't want to say like broke her career, but that got her more like
got
more
a lot of
popular.
attention. Yeah, I was like, who is she?
Yeah, SZA. Yeah, for sure.
All right, number 7.
Number 8.
You're number 8.
No,
you're 7. What the fuck? I'm the one drinking, not you.
No, you said 7.
Yeah,
I said
7.
I'm number 8.
Yeah.
10 was Overwatch. 9 was Prime. my 8.
Oh my god, yeah, you're right. You're right. I'm stupid. It's like, I try to blame you. That was tight. All right, what's your number 8?
Number 8 is Star Wars Rogue One.
Fuck. Yeah, you're right. That was
Just
okay.
because like that movie was like the first
And
side
only-
story. No, it's not a side story.
Just
Yeah.
kidding.
But it was one of the first movies that was a Star Wars in the Star Wars universe, but it wasn't
The
directly.
Skywalkers.
Yeah. And because when Disney bought the franchise for the rights from George Lucas, there was always the talks of in development of like they wanted to do a Seven Samurai type story, but for Star Wars. And I was like, oh shit! Like I love.
How would that be?
Yeah, I
and
love
Rogue One was
Akira Kurosawa's
advanced.
was Seven Samurai. I was like, oh, how does that play out in the Star Wars universe? And then you have this kind of like, it's not necessarily to a T, Seven Samurai,
But it's still pretty.
but it's the characters kind of resemble that like band of misfits trying to do this one thing.
Right.
So I think that storytelling was really innovative for the franchise because it was not about the Skywalkers. It was just about this one blip plot hole that was that was missed in Star Wars, the original Star Wars. So it's like,
Correct.
oh yeah, this movie takes care of that one blip, and it's like, oh, okay.
And that movie also had a lot of references to the Star Wars TV series, like the animated TV series.
Yeah, the Clone Wars.
Yeah, and Rebels too, I think.
Oh yeah, Rebels too.
And in my opinion, I think that's like the best of the new movies.
I haven't seen Rise of Skywalker
Oh, that's
yet,
right.
but I will.
Okay.
I will within the 2 weeks.
Correct.
Number 8, JV. Your number 8.
My number 8. Okay, so my number 8 has to be traveling to Tokyo.
Tokyo.
Yeah,
Wow.
because that would
When was this? What year?
I don't know, 2015, I think, something like that. Yeah, and I went on that trip by myself, and I told you stories about it. I had a
Yeah.
Mr. Bob Harris
Yeah.
moment, party with like random people. I got lost in like a city that didn't really speak English and stuff, and it was nuts. Like it changed. Like I guess it made me more independent. It made me less scared to take more risks and stuff like that. So that's why I really liked it. I mean, it made me like, yeah, I traveled to Korea by myself right after and whatnot. So yeah, it was sick. It was a life changer, and it propelled me, gave me self confidence.
Well, because it's also like, because you're like so into like gaming and anime, it's like just you
And that
being like
too.
fucking immersed into like the culture, that
Right.
kind of like you see that
Like
shit. Yeah.
Like this is the land of my my hobbies. And
Yeah, this is
interests.
like, yeah, and it's not like I mean, it's main. I don't want to say it's main. Yeah, it's mainstream. Like, there's it's a different vibe versus here in the United States. Obviously, it's
Yeah.
like it's a niche thing.
It's niche and it's very limited. I agree. I definitely agree.
All right, my number 7, anime series Steins Gate.
Oh,
2012.
Yeah.
JV put this put me onto this, just because the way that they scientifically talked about time and like time space and timelines, like that's the most accurate, like I think, storytelling, or rather of approach of storytelling through time, time travel.
I was so hyped on Steins Gate when it was like coming out.
Yeah, it was really good because like there's things that it addressed in a very like serious way, and like how would you go about changing a moment in your life, but like how does that even be remotely possible?
Yeah, because they talked, and they had like a lot of good references to like past, like it's probably one of the better time traveling stories out
There was
there.
a lot of science in that, a lot of facts.
And like they made references to the DeLorean on it too. Like it just gave a lot. Like it was really well researched and written, and the story delivery was
It
actually
was like,
really good.
definitely one of the few smart animes.
Right. I guess I would say that's one of my top 10. So
Is that your number 7, or is that your?
I'll say that's my number 7 too.
Is that
yeah.
honorable mention?
No, because I was really hyped on it. I was really, really big on it. So I'll say that's my number 7 too. So I guess let me do a 6.
Do a 6 then.
I guess I'll say, have you ever heard of the game Bloodborne?
No.
It was a 2015 game, and I just recently played it, and I finished it, and it is like probably the best video game I've played, just because it was a super hard game. It's one of those games where like you die, like you're gonna die in that game, and you just have to keep retrying. But what fascinated me about Bloodborne is that one, it was like in a Victorian era kind of thing, and it's about like the whole game is about you trying to find like blood to cure you or something, right? Like blood transfusions and stuff like that, right?
Okay.
So it had like a Dracula feel kind of thing. But the game wouldn't tell you anything. It wasn't like from dialogue to dialogue. It was kind of like the original Zelda, where you kind of had to figure everything out on your own.
Yeah.
And like in order for you to like piece the whole story together, you had to like talk to NPCs, do certain quests, like all the items gave like little stories to it, and it just like the whole narrative of Bloodborne. Like I spent probably all of like last month and this month like just listening and reading and researching all the lore, and I'd never been so immersed in like a story so complex before, and it really like inspired me in like my writing and stuff like that too, fiction writing. So it made a really big impact on me.
No, it's interesting how it's not like a popular title. It sounds like a niche title.
Yeah, but it did get Game of the Year too. Yeah, and it's like it drew in not just like Japanese anime fans, it drew in like everybody, like a big Western. It did really well here. Yeah, and yeah, I think that's like one of the best video games in terms of story and gameplay I've ever had.
Okay. Number 6 is tied to my number 7. It's Interstellar, Christopher Nolan, 2014.
Hell yeah, that movie was so sick.
I think of the Nolan movies between 2009 to 2019,
it was hard.
He made some good movies, but Inception was good,
but it didn't change anything.
Well, like for me, I was like, man, that's like the thought process behind Inception was like, oh shit, okay.
Right?
But then like for Interstellar, it was.
I actually talked about Interstellar for a really long time after the movie.
It was the space time and time, how theory of relativity and all that. It's just like what he did with like Inception and from his first movie, Memento. Yeah. When you bring like his motifs he works with a lot of it's just time.
It is time, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like when you apply that to something that's like tangible, like space time, you're like, oh shit, like
it is like it's our geeky side a lot.
So smart, yeah. Oh shit, like it's like what's Sophie's Choice?
Okay.
Like how how he has to like choose the fucking planet. It's like I gotta go to this planet, I got this planet. That's it. That's all I have time for. And I go back home, I'm gonna die. Like shit like that. It's just like
the movie was sick, yeah. Because he's like, oh, we stayed here too long because like I thought you guys were lost or something. He's like, I'm old as fuck now. Like what the fuck?
That was only like 5 minutes. Yeah, but that 5 minutes was like 10 years.
Yeah, it could be like a decade to somebody.
What?
Dude, yeah, that's it. Oh man, like it was good. Like I really wanted to put Dark Knight on there, but Dark Knight was in 2008. I was like, oh fuck.
Yeah.
But yeah, like no, I would say that's pretty close for me too. Interstellar was really close for me. And I guess
You're number 5.
My number 5.
Just number 6.
Huh?
Yeah, because you just did number 6.
Okay, so my number 5 movie is definitely going to be Avengers Endgame.
Oh.
Because
something recent.
Huh?
Something recent.
It is something recent because it pulled in together the 10-year journey of Marvel. It's
like basically the top 10 list but for Marvel movies for the last decade.
Yeah. Like for me, it definitely, because it was like a cultural moment too. Like everyone was so focused about like this is the story, like right here, especially how Infinity War played out, and you're just like, damn, Endgame is like, this is like the farewell and thank you letter to like the whole 10 years kind of thing for Marvel. And I was like, this movie's crazy. Like I thought it was way better than how Game of Thrones did it, but yeah,
Very nice.
In terms of media.
Yeah, Avengers was good. Like, I just didn't. There wasn't like one Marvel movie that was like, this is the Marvel movie.
Right.
Well, I don't know. Like, I like Spider-Man.
Yeah,
The Return of
they're all good.
They're all good. But there's
But then, yeah, like the thing with Endgame was like it was the conclusion. Like this is the
it wrapped everything up for the last decade, which makes a lot of sense.
Correct.
Number 5. I have the Bodega Boys / Desus and Mero. I think listening to their podcast and watching their show on Viceland and Showtime, it's like, yeah, like
that's right, they got on Showtime.
This is like for me, that was like the moment where like, oh, JV, we can do a fucking podcast. That was the moment where I was like, yo, let's do another project. Let's just do the podcast or blog or whatever, which just became the podcast. And it was like, oh, like we're obviously not as funny or whatever, but we are who we are.
Yeah.
Which I take a lot from that duo and trying to like incorporate the shit.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna piggyback off that. Actually, one of mine is podcasting too.
Podcasting.
And I have this is like I was either gonna say Vox or podcasting, but I think podcasting is more appropriate. So when you told me about it, I didn't know anything about podcasting. Like it was never on my radar. Like I didn't have Google Podcasts, no nothing. And it was like it was after our first season was when I finally started getting into podcasting.
Mm-hmm.
And then that led me to like audiobooks.
Yep.
Yeah, audiobooks. Like it got me into the news, and it got me so. When Trump's election happened? Was that
2016?
Was that during when we started season 1?
Yes.
Okay, so that got me like all of that all happened at the same time, and it really, really got me into like social events and stuff like that. I've never paid attention to the news like that much until we started doing podcasting plus like Trump's election, and it really, really like put everything to perspective for me. And like that's when I got into like Ezra Klein and like all those other like Vox podcasts that like just made me like, you know, and they informed me of like world events and stuff like that. So I think for me, it's made me a better person. Podcasting.
Yeah. Being in front of the mic and listening to.
I like listening to it. I wish I was better at being in front of it, but yeah, like I'm trying to get better. Like
just trying to be loose. The growth. Our growth was like.
Oh my god! Compared to our first episode, yeah,
it's we've got the growth. It's
there, yeah. I can listen to our more recent episodes compared to our first ones.
Yeah, from right now, it's been more polished. We also appreciate you all for sticking around.
Oh hell yeah!
Our 5 listeners.
5 listeners.
It's
we
like
love
Brangel,
you.
Rona.
What's up, guys? Some of my friends listen from every now and then. I'll listen.
My number 4, I have Frank Ocean, Channel Orange from 2012. I think that because at that time when Odd Future was around, like right as intact, like that was the one kind of outlier project that was just like not the same.
Correct. Yeah.
Like and every, really like Tyler Earl shit was very like misogynistic. It was very like violent.
Dark.
Yeah, it's very dark. Their shit was. What would they call
like
it?
Horrorcore or something?
Yeah. That was like the vibe. But then you get like Frank Ocean. He was like doing like soulful R&B type shit. And it was like, this is not the same as
like the rest of the Odd Future.
Yeah, so for me it was like that was kind of like my intro to like Odd Future, because I didn't fuck with Odd Future because I didn't like any of their music from the beginning. Like that shit didn't like connect with me.
Right.
And then like obviously like Tyler and Earl and Sid the Kid and Internet, they've had the like career change a lot of it, right?
Oh, yeah, and he grew up too, and
so it's like I listen to like, you know, Tyler's more like recent projects, and they I feel more connected to him artistically now than when he first came out with Odd Future.
Yeah, he was like an angry kid back then.
Just because Channel Orange was like that kind of like gateway, like, oh yeah, this is not like. This is not like the OG art.
Was Odd Future one of those groups where it made you go like, man, this rap music's weird? Like
Yes.
these kids are like these are weird rapping kids, kind of.
Yeah, just because like it was.
Not 90s.
No, it's not just 90s. It's
Or
just
early
like the way
2000s.
that their lyrics was just not like, I was like, what the fuck kind of moment. Like I don't really care for this shit.
Right.
Everyone was hyped about like, you know, the first time they Tyler played at on Jimmy Fallon, and I was like, I don't get it, but okay, like this is, I guess.
And that was like before the SoundCloud rapper kind of thing, huh?
Yeah, that was right before, so it's just like rappers who wear Supreme, like the kids that like just live
Skated.
in LA and
Yeah.
skate.
They were suburban kids too, right? They were suburban kids.
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I can't say that for sure.
Got it.
All right, JV, you're number 4.
It's an anime. Another one. It's called Shirobako. It's an anime about producing an anime.
Oh yeah, you showed a few episodes of that to
Dude,
me.
it's
very. Go ahead.
It's one of it's an anime about work, and it just like shows like the story follows an associate producer about her like meeting deadlines and stuff like that, and like all the drama she goes with, and like it's about her 4 friends who are trying to make it into the industry, and like some of them, like one of them was a waiter because she couldn't like get jobs, and then like when she lands her first role, like it was like one of the few times I actually cried during an anime. Yeah, so and it's about work, and it's kind of like inspiring. It's like, dude, like it's about people, like even though like kind of spoiler, like they don't really achieve, the 4 don't achieve their same dream together because they're still new into the industry, and like that's their goal. Like oh, I mean, we'll make our own anime someday, but like, you know, like cheers to that, like in the future kind of thing.
Yeah, it's a very like that anime was very like
Really meta.
Yeah, David Chang says this term called inside baseball. Like it's like very inside baseball.
What does that mean?
It just means like it's very in the weeds and very like particular to the niche.
Yeah.
So it's like I was like I don't like the episode you showed me. I was like oh, like I kind of get it just because it's about work.
right.
And just like the idea of meeting deadlines and the workflow of like an art department trying to make an anime. It's like that one movie that documented Hayao Miyazaki.
Okay.
Yeah, that's like the same kind of vibe I got, but it's less about one person and more about just like the workflow. Yeah.
it was nuts. Like it was definitely like a big inspiration to me. Yeah. All right. Number 2.
Number 3.
Or your 3.
Yeah, that's my 3. I want to say Portland.
Okay. Yeah. No, that makes sense. Yeah. You did move up there.
Prior to moving to Portland this year, we visited the Northwest 2 times before. Our first time, we did Portland, Seattle, Vancouver in 2013. And when we visited Portland then, we were just like,
This is the city.
this is like a really cool city. Like it just feels a lot like small town. It doesn't feel like a
It felt
big
right
ass
to
city.
you?
Yeah, it felt like this is something we can do. And then like, you know, after, because we did Portland first, and drove up to Seattle, and we, you know, stayed in Seattle for a few days. And we're like, okay, like there's obviously a lot of rain between the 2 cities, but it just, the big city of Seattle is like that's when I started to like, oh yeah, that's like, Seattle's dope. I love Seattle. It's just that LA comparison I get in my brain is like the same.
Okay, so it's like LA to Seattle, then Portland to what?
San Diego, more like it. The vibe.
Okay.
And then you know, we went back to Portland. Shit, I want to say like 2 years ago in 2017. So yeah, we were like, oh yeah, I think Portland's like a really cool city, and we just kind of planted the seed for us to like possibly be our next hometown. So we're like, oh yeah, and like those trips and the amount of like I don't want to say future planning, but like the ideation of like living somewhere that wasn't San Diego was like, if there was a place that we can go and kind of like work and actually raise a family, like, oh yeah, I think we can do this in Portland.
Interesting. Okay, so you guys had just had that feeling like it's Portland.
Yeah, more, and then like, yeah, it It was more. It was either the Northwest or Hawaii, and it's like I'm not gonna work in Hawaii.
I know. I remember like a few years ago, you guys were saying like, yeah, we're thinking about moving to Hawaii. I'm like, oh, you guys are gonna move to Hawaii. Then when you guys told me Portland, I was like, oh shit, they changed it.
That's
Okay.
not. Yeah, it's just obviously it just was not in the cards. Just because like I really wouldn't know what to work for
And
or on in Hawaii. I'm like shit. Just the job prospects weren't as
you're
high.
like, wedding's good enough.
Yeah, wedding's good enough, and being able to travel still on a flight, that's fine.
Got it.
All right, JV number 3. Oh, you're on 2. Okay, got you.
Mine's gonna be the iPhone 4.
iPhone 4 cracks the top 2.
Because that was like the first smartphone I ever bought too, and for me, it was like the best smartphone.
The iPhone 4 was very solid design.
Yeah, like it was beautiful. It was like the greatest phone, and like it was still small. Like I could actually still use it with one hand, and it did everything. It really was like it was everything I wanted in a smartphone. It was just like the browser, the iPod, and that's it. Like, that's all I needed was a browser and iPod. Because like I was never one for apps, even though I heard like the beer app was like the most downloaded app during that time. But yeah, that's
Time, man.
Do you remember that app?
No, I don't.
So it was like the app where it would fill up and you would do this.
Oh shit!
you drink it and it would-
yeah. Yep. Now I remember.
That was the most downloaded app at that time.
That was stupid.
Yeah, it was so stupid. But yeah, like the iPhone 4 was like perfect for me. Just it did everything, man. It connected me to it. It made me realize that I am always on the internet now. That was when I knew. And
Oh, that was that before your your Sony Xperia phone? Or is that
correct.
after?
Yeah. So the iPhone 4 was actually my first smartphone.
And then you bought
And I started going to Sony's
Sony
and stuff like that.
Xperia.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go bigger.
Boom, and then it's like the PSP out the pocket.
And you're
Yeah,
like,
we
this is
remember
too
that.
big.
We
This is too
remember
big. I gotta go
that.
back down. I gotta go back down. Now I'm like the type of person who barely uses his like smartphone. That's in mine.
All right. Number 2, I have Kendrick Lamar's "To Pimp a Butterfly."
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I
that's
thought you were
like-
thinking about Good Kid, Mad City.
I was, and honestly, like when it comes to his projects for the decade, I'm like, dude, I felt something about like "To Pimp a Butterfly" when it first came out, and I just have that same.
It was a huge narrative. The whole album was a huge narrative. Yeah,
that was like his storytelling of his own kind of like trauma. Rather, because he does that a lot. Like he fictionalizes a lot with like Good Kid, Mad City, kind of like how like this narrative of like a day in a life.
Right.
But then like "To Pimp a Butterfly," there's a lot of things that he discusses with this newfound celebrity or whatever, or like his image and what it is now, and then just the hits off the like "To Pimp a Butterfly," even like
yeah. Now that I think about
like
it,
"All Right," Ken Kunta,
yeah. Now that I think about it, like a lot of those songs.
"I
on that
Love
album,
Myself."
I like actually more songs from that album than I did on Good Kid, Mad City, for sure. I could see that.
Yeah, just like that was one of the few albums this decade that I can do front to back.
And I remember in that album too that he did a like an interview with Tupac.
Yes.
You remember that album?
Yes.
That was like a sick.
That was like
track.
one of the like the last songs, or it was like a hidden track.
Yeah,
that shit was
that shit was tight.
That was good.
Yeah, I remember that. All right, my
Number one.
My number one's definitely Anime Expo. My first going to Anime Expo.
What year was that?
Fuck, it's probably been almost a decade. It has to be like 2010.
Okay.
I believe it's 2010. Yeah, it was when I actually had money for the first time, and I was like, I want to know what everyone's doing. And I go up there. I'm not sure if I went with Rona and Brandon the first time. Or I went by myself. I think I went by myself.
I think you soloed, and then next year.
Then I think Brandon Rona came with me. I'm not sure if you went with me. No, I don't think you've ever
I
went.
went 1 year. I just
You
don't know which
you did.
one
We
year.
went in that shoddy ass hotel. I remember now. It was like us three in like one shoddy ass bed. I remember that now.
Yeah, because we only had the 1 day pass.
Yeah,
that's all I remember.
And I was there for 3 days, and you guys just came up for that.
We're just gonna stay for 1 hour and just dip.
I remember that. Yeah. Okay, so Anime Expo is like my crux in life. It's the thing that drives me every day. Like it really really made me like accept like nerdism, like to be open about it, because I used to like be like kind of like being a nerd back then wasn't cool. Yeah, now it's like okay to be a nerd, but back then you still had to deal with like, oh, don't fuck with him. He's kind of a nerdy kid. But now, yeah. So yeah, then after that, I was like, fuck it, man. I'm just gonna be a nerd. There's like tens and thousands of people who are like have the
Just
same
kinda
interest.
be-
Yeah,
they
the
just
same
fucking
interest.
embrace it, dude.
Yeah, and I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna embrace it, and then that propelled me to like pursuing art more and like writing, and like even now, it's still like the biggest influence on my life. So that's why I think Anime Expo, being a real nerd, or being my like true self to my nerdiness is like it's how to say like not gonna say released, but
Like a relief.
yeah, there you go. Man. That's what the word I was like looking for. Yeah,
Like you feel like like that moment where you're just kind of like, I'm just myself, man.
yeah, like I am in my element. I'm in my zone. I'm like Kanye, man. Can't get me out of my zone.
Speaking of, my number one is Kanye West, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. Fucking the best Kanye West album.
Oh my
I've been fucking
God.
saying this on this podcast ever since the beginning. It's the best fucking album he's ever created. That's the hill I will die on. Kanye West has fucked up everything since, but that's the moment where I'm like,
He did things right on this album.
this is a fucking like his best project. Just because if you like, there was, after I listened to the Vox podcast, I forgot what it's called.
Switched on pop.
No, the one where they talk about an album. It's called Dissected.
Okay.
I don't know if it's not,
was
either
it
Vox or
Vox?
is that a Spotify one?
It might be Spotify.
It's this, okay, so it's a podcast that takes a listen to an album, and they do a lot of like cultural theory and critique for every song, and it's like the meta narrative of the album, and then they critique every song. And then what was interesting, like I've always felt some type of way about my beautiful dark twisted fantasy, just
yeah,
because
you fucking love that album.
like
I mean,
the
you've
hype,
talked about
like,
this
yeah,
album
like
so many times on this podcast.
Exactly,
Yeah.
everyone knows the hype because of Good Fridays right up until the release, and then you hear it like, shit, this is amazing. It's like you think about the career trajectory of Kanye West up until that moment. Like, he had the Taylor Swift shit, right? And that was like the backlash of it, and that's why I was thinking about it from listening to that Dissected podcast. I was like, oh yeah, that's right. Like, he was going through some shit because like everyone hated him. Like,
Yeah.
everyone was fucking mad. His best friends were mad at him. Kim Kardashian was pissed because like he's fucking up the money again.
And Jay-Z was mad at him
Yeah,
too,
like,
right?
it was
Yeah.
just like a weird cultural moment, and Kanye West just happened to be the scapegoat. So I was like, oh yeah. So like he had to do like a lot of like internal kind of like rearranging and getting his shit together. So it's like he channeled that through this album, and I felt that, then. I'm like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I think that was the moment that kind of like, that as an artist and as for me as a creative, it's like to think about like if there was like a pivotal moment in your career and that was like, that wasn't your debut, like that for him as My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy was like, that's the moment of your artist you're like looking for. That's not just your debut. Like, how do you keep it up? How do you stay on top? And it's like, for a creative, I get that. I'm like, yeah, what's going to be my moment? Like, it's not.
Yeah, that's 4 albums in. Yeah.
I don't want my best days to be behind me. Like,
Right.
That's how I approach it. Like, I don't want my best days behind me. Like, I want my career trajectory. I want me as a creative to be always like moving forward and shit like that. And that's where I feel like about Kanye West. I was like, fuck.
Damn, you are
Deep.
super connected to that album. Yeah.
That's why I was like, dude, that's why everyone who fight like, it's like, no, you don't like College Dropout. I'm like, no, I love College Dropout.
It's a great album, yeah. But you feel like an emotional connection too.
There's a moment I feel about that, and then just like, I guess, just the meta like narrative of like where Kanye West is now, and just like he started like going off the deep end, or like he just wasn't. He's in a different mindset. Even the time he is at now from My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy is like 9 years, right?
Right.
And it's like that. It's just he's grown. He's not grown. It's just like the way that he's been going about his life. It's so different from in this decade than the last decade when he first, was just a producer for Rockefeller to my Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. That shit was like wild, exponential.
Okay. That's true. Yeah. Holy shit. You fucking love that album. It's
I
great.
do. I'll stand that album. I wanted to be this podcast about that album. I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
I was like, I need to put this up.
This is the only thing. Is like your top 10 would be every single song on that album.
No, because it's like everyone still fucking raps Monster. Like that's just 9 years old. That's the song that broke Nicki Minaj's career.
Dude, that song is fucking, her verse on that was nuts. She has like an almost equally good verse on Chance's latest album. That was the last time I said like, yo, Nicki Minaj is crazy. That's the last time I said Nicki Minaj is crazy. Monster and then Chance the Rapper's album.
That was like, yeah, good moment. But I mean, I guess to sum it up and just to be more future looking, it's like I'm interested to see where culture, from like our perspective, from Difficult to Please this perspective of nerdism, music, movies, video games, and everything in between. What does that look like in 10 years? Because like every time it's like 20 to 30. How, like we've been saying on the early podcast and all that, is like what's like that's the really big change,
right?
And then it's like
so weird
from here to the from 2019 to 2029, like that's gonna be fucking crazy.
I don't know
right?
what's gonna happen. It's gonna be crazy because if you think about it, remember RD was 10 years ago.
You brought this up off air, but
we were
was
like
10
in
years
San
ago.
Francisco 10 years ago.
We were fucking like 20. We were fucking college kids doing something, and now it's like.
Now Virgil's saying street fashion's gonna die.
And it's kidding. Like like dunks are back. I'm like whoa. Like
that's what I was saying. I was like,
whoa. I still got dunks. Like it's especially with fashion. I think we can do a different podcast about that. But it's like the way that things come in cycles, and it's like, well, what's this next like 10 years gonna look like for us as 30 somethings for sure now? Like we're
because
right until we come 40.
This is supposed to be like our mental what do you call that? Our mental peak, like our mental mindset peak. Like 30s to 40s is supposed to be it. Like now we know like this is what we should be doing kind of thing. Like we have that mentality because like I feel like in your 20s to 30s you're still trying to figure shit out. You're just 18 with freedom now. That's it. And like we learn through it and make hella mistakes in our 20s and just go through it. And now like approaching it, like I'm super excited about my 30s going to the 40s. Like I don't fear it. The only thing I'm fear is like I fear regret kind of thing. Like that's why I don't want to I don't want that fear. I don't want to regret anything. That's why I'm willing to push for the next 10 years, like something more meaningful.
See? Look at us.
We're adults now.
It's like that Paul Rudd theme or Paul Rudd meme from Hot Ones. Look at us.
That's really blowing up. I thought the interview was so sick.
I'm just going to jot that in right here.
Yeah.
Just look at us. Hey, look at us. Look at us. Huh? Who would have thought? Not me.
Paul Rudd's sick. But yeah. All right, man. This is
the last episode of 2019.
Yeah, we'll start doing our regular episodes again.
Regular remote podcasts.
Right, remote
Portland,
podcast.
San Diego.
Yeah. And then this is to 2020. This is to the next decade, man.
Get it. Let's get this bread.
Let's get this bread, yeah. Let's get these dreams. This Gary V this shit. Gary V challenge. Let's go. I'm just kidding. All right, man. Thanks for listening. Happy holidays. Hopefully we can get this posted like fairly quick too.
Yeah, I'm trying to get it.
If not, happy 2020.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Late.
Peace. This episode is sponsored by Audible. Audible is one of the biggest distributors of audiobooks, radio, TV programs, and like newspapers. And if you sign up using the link www.audibletrial.com/difficult to please, you can begin your free 30-day trial, which includes an audiobook and 2 Audible originals. This time I'm going to recommend the book The Ideal Team Player by Patrick Lencioni. Patrick Lencioni. And in this book, he talks about, well, obviously the ideal team player and their traits. And not to spoil the whole thing, but there are 3 traits that like an ideal team player has. And that's to be humble, to be hungry, and to be smart. Not like intelligent smart, but more emotional intelligence. Like people smart. And after reading the book, it really made me realize like some of the traits I'm lacking as an ideal team player. Like for one of them, I would be considered a lovable slacker. I'm humble and smart, but I'm not hungry. And like those are people who aren't looking for undeserved attention, and they're adept at working, and they still care about the colleagues, but they're just not motivated. Like they have limited passions and stuff like that. And it's a pretty big revealing thing. So check it out. I think it's a good read. And again, the link is audibletrial.com/difficult to please, and to start your free trial. Cancel anytime. All right. Peace.